Alright folks, so today on the bench we have this really cool Yamaha CS01. It looks like a toy synthesizer, but it's anything but. It's actually a very capable, bare bone admittedly, but a very capable little synthesizer. What now?
This video is sponsored by PC.
No, we don't do that here.
They make the PCB.
Okay.
They offer PCB manufacturing and part assembly, of course, but they also offer a number of other services like CNC machining, metal sheet fabrication, 3D printing, and even injection molding. Pretty much anything you need for all your projects. Go to PCBWay.com, upload your project files, and get an instant quote.
And thank you to them for sponsoring this video. Thank you, PCBWay. It's battery powered here. There's a little speaker here, but you can also use the audio out. It's a single oscillator and it's got an LFO VCO, which is actually a DCO. It's a digital oscillator, but it's got, as far as I understand, an analog filter on this VCA amplifier and an envelope generator, so you can actually craft sounds with it. It's got no presets saved anyway, so everything has to be manually crafted. So here we're using a triangle wave. It's got a sawtooth wave. It's got a square wave. In fact, two square waves, and it's got a pulse width modulation. And this will sort of remind you of the it's almost like that C64 type of a pulse width modulation. I really like it. It's got a few modulation, pitch bend. It's got glissando, which is not very useful at higher levels because it's actually a step. So it goes through all the notes in between, but at lower settings, it actually goes through them faster. It's actually much more useful. The filter is probably a bit the weaker part of this. That can be set. But that's as much resonance as you'll get out of this. This is actually on the high setting. The low setting is very, very weak. So you can actually do a little more to increase the resonance, and actually set, instead of having a switch here, send the resonance to one of those breath controller pots. It can essentially take a breath controller, Yamaha breath controller, which are really rare. These are rare, and the breath controller is pretty much impossible to find. So very often what people do is they set the filter here, they set it here. We can actually set the resonance that way to a certain level. So that's probably what we'll do. And the envelope is everything you expect from an envelope. And a noise generator. That was just a very basic demonstration. It's not what this video is about. What I want to do here is actually do that resonance mod right here, and more importantly actually is to add the kit, the MIDI kit, to be able to control this guy through MIDI. So either from another sequencer or from my DAW, from my computer. So first things first, we have to build it, and I want to thank a fellow musician and synth enthusiast. He's a much bigger synth collector than me. He's got quite a collection.
Bonjour, je suis Michael Gers, je suis musicien, multi-instrumentiste, compositeur, arrangeur, sound designer et passionné de ces instruments qui font tout un tas de bruits divers que vous pouvez voir autour de moi.
Thank you very much for sending me the kit. Much appreciated. And he said he wouldn't use it. He's got plenty of keyboard as it is, but I really appreciate it. I'll leave the link to his channel, even though he's not technically a YouTuber. He's a full-time composer and musician. In fact, he's done the covers of the Wonder Boy 3, the Dragon Strap remake that was done by, was it Lizard Cube? And .emu. So he was the composer that did all these beautiful covers before Monster Boy was released, where I worked. that's a really cool connection, actually, and I'm glad first that we got in touch. So we're gonna build the PCB first because it's a kit, and then we'll try to fit it in. I think what he sent me is the first version of that kit, which is not made anymore. So it's going to be interesting trying to find documentation because that doesn't exist anymore. So we'll see. So I think the only guide I could find was actually somebody who'd done the exact same revision board, an old video that doesn't have much in lieu of explanations, but it's just the guy soldering this together. And the other thing is on this, the values of each part is not present. So luckily there's only 3, like the diodes are all the same. There's 8 here, 1 here. The 2 resistor here should be the same because the one that's different is the 220 ohm resistor, and that should be for the optocoupler. So, and the 3 capacitors are the same value, and there's only 3 here. The other thing is resistor network. Again, they seem to have put like these 2 in parallel, so I'm not sure exactly why that is. Is it preference? Is it space? I don't quite know. We need to take this guy apart. So I see a few screws here, 6 screws. We're going to take the batteries out. So this takes 6 of these AA batteries. Now, I also believe that in order to fit the mod, we're going to have to remove the speaker, which, you know, is not a big loss. I don't really plan on ever using the speaker. It's a handy one just to kind of tinker and mess around, but it's not at all useful for what I plan on doing with this. Now, what have we here? So probably have to be careful with the battery. Yeah. Battery connection. Oh no, that's a ground plane here. Okay, I see. So I think everything we need is actually on this side. It's this connector here that we're interested in. Going to the keyboard, or is it? We'll have a look. All right, so this is our main PCB here, and I think that's pretty much everything. Yes, indeed, we got buttons here, so everything is on the one PCB. I see a connector for the keyboard, so I'm guessing either here or here is going to be what we are interested in to connect to. And this speaker will have to come out to actually fit the board. Right, this is it all assembled, and right now I was just doing some testing because this thing needs 5 volt in to even power, and this board takes 9 to 12 volts. I have a 12 volt supply. There's a 7809 here that will convert that 12 to 9 volt. But the board is essentially powered all the way with 9 volts. So we need a way to convert the 9 volt through the 5 volt. So I went and did a bit of kind of research on the internet. I found this diagram for the Rev 2. Essentially it takes 5 volt as well, but they actually advise to use a Zener diode across from the plus and minus, and then a 220 ohm resistor here on the minus line to get the 5 volt needed. And indeed, if I power this board now, this should light up to, there you go, we got power at 5 volt, and this is now stable. So that's, let's continue here. So we need to plug in the data and select lines to this. Ooh, that's going to be tricky. Anyway, to this. So there's like there's 12 lines here, and 1 is here, and 12 is over there. And essentially, we take the first 6 data lines and connect that to the first 6 of the lines of the ribbon cable, of the keyboard cable, and then the next 6. 1, 2, 3, 6. So we just need to invert this. 6 goes into the 7th, 5 to 8, etc., etc. So it's going to be a good bit of wire. I might see if I can make a just a connector, so I can actually disconnect them if I'm taking this out. So this doesn't actually hang from this board all the time. I might do the same here for this this cable. Might make things easier, and it's long enough. Yeah. All right, so I got the all the wiring done. I'm using a connector for the keyboard connector over there. Same with the power in and with the MIDI, and I have it plugged into the Arturia over there. You can see there's some activity. In fact, I have a sequence going on the Arturia, permanently looping, so I know there's a signal coming. I can see there's a signal coming, but obviously you can hear that we're getting no sound here whatsoever, and I know it's not a problem with the keyboard, because if I disconnect this guy, in fact, if I disconnect the select line and power this back on, I still get a sound. It's working fine. So the issue is not with this. And I did actually triple check, in fact, that there's no bridges, that the continuity and the order is right. It is, or at least it is according to this diagram. I can still hear a sound, this thing playing, until I plug in the select lines, those line here, select in. And when I do that, it stops. I thought I inverted the line, so I actually inverted this way. I have two connectors for data and select separated. I inverted that and still no luck. And whenever I insert the select lines, this guy stops working. So I probably need to do some troubleshooting here. I already started, and fortunately I couldn't quite see anything visibly wrong. It could be the optocoupler is fried. I'm going to try and replace that very quickly. We'll see what happens. It could be this. This thing is old. It's been sitting with Michael for probably years now at this stage. And unfortunately, there's no support and no information now on this very model. There is for this guy. There's a few tutorials and documentation, but not for this guy anymore. So I'm going to try just a few things. Maybe get the scope out to see if I'm getting at least any data coming out of the coupler. I'm just going to try and replace it quickly. But if not, I think this might be a dud, and I might actually need to get myself one of these guys instead. Let's see. But at least I've done the annoying part, which is actually doing all this wiring. And even more annoying is actually putting connectors that just double the work. But anyway, so let's see what I can do here. All right, it is much later, but I figured this out. Essentially, there's two different settings, active high and active low on the keyboard. And because I didn't have a manual, and I actually thought there was two positions for these diodes, and I put those here way down. But then I wasn't sure about the resistor network, so I put them up. I didn't actually know about this setting, but I found, thanks to Wayback Machine, some instructions of the Mark 1, which this is the Mark 1 here, the older model. So I figured out that essentially these resistor networks should be down, just like the diodes are. So it's only after troubleshooting for a while that I figured the Wayback Machine was my friend. So all the pictures are gone from that page, but it has all the jumper settings for this as well, and exactly for the CS1 instructions that these resistor networks and diodes must be on this this row and not up. And it's working. We got MIDI in for the CS01 using, well, this cool donation. Again, thank you, Michael. Thank you very much for this. And let's move on to the next part. All right. So I have the MIDI connector in now, everything is working, and to fit the board you sort of fit it in this area where the speaker is, and you do need to Dremel out some elements of the speaker. You can see there's a thing broken on the speaker. I'll fix that afterwards. And I had to Dremel some of the board, so thank God it's just the corners where the ground plane is. But yeah, I think this version, the first version, was meant to be outside. I don't see how else it would fit otherwise. But never mind, it all fit. It closes now. So the next thing I want to do, and that's the only mod I'm gonna do to this guy, but essentially we've got here the switch for the resonance. We got high and low resonance. But here is the cutoff for the filter. So there's no way to set the resonance with a pot. The resonance can only be set here, high or low. And essentially, what you do when you use the switch is you bypass this 10K resistor. So by removing this resistor and connecting both ends to this resistor here, pot here, which is the pot for the breath control, controlling the VCA, which is not very useful and used much, but we can actually connect the legs of the pots directly to where this resistor was, and now we'll be able to control the resonance with the pot. This spot specifically. So this is the mod I'm going to do. To do this, you can either cut traces. I'm not a fan of cutting traces on an original PCB. So what we can do instead is just remove that guy. It's just 10K resistor. And I'm going to lift the legs of this guy. So I'm going to remove this guy, lift the legs, and then use, just run a wire from here to over here. And connect the center and either one of those two. It doesn't really matter which. All right, so I've got the mod done. It's just 2 wires running from here. It's going through this hole under the board and where this resistor was underneath. So right now it's without any resonance, and now if I turn this knob, we can really get it to scream. So you can adjust the amount with this little trimmer pot as well. But obviously you don't have access to that when the board is closed. So anyway, this is all done. This is all the mod I wanted to download. There's a couple of other mods you can do. I've no real interest in them. I just wanted to have just a better filter on this guy and being able to control it with MIDI. And this is now done. So let's close this up. It's going to be interesting to see if everything fits right. It should. I did tests, but we'll see. And it's tight. It's very tight in there. There's not a lot of room. And obviously you need to remove the speaker entirely, but that's okay because my goal for this is to have it here and patch it through audio in, and then use effects. So this is going to be my effect area here. I'm going to remove these. I have a chorus and probably a phaser flanger going in. That's going to be another video converting these to a Eurorack little module. So this is a distortion pedal that I've used, and it's all working. I got the MIDI mod in, so I can now control this with anything else, including my DAW, which is the goal for this, to be able to use it in compositions. And the filter mod is done, so that's a slightly better filter, but if we crank up the resonance, we'll really get a we can really get it to squeal a little bit. You can actually crank the Q even more than that for a really, really screeching sound. that's not my goal with it. I want something I can use more melodically than for effects. For effects, I can use this guy here, which is great. And I give it a clean. It's because it was quite crusty, and it came out really nice and clean now. So really happy with it. This is where it's going to sit for probably ever, until I decide to part with it, if I ever do. Anyway, this is the MIDI and filter mod for the Yamaha CS01. If it helps anybody, let me know, because there's not a ton of information on, especially now, the filter mod. It's a simple mod, but what I found had to be found through the Wayback Machine, same as the information for for this revision of the highly liquid MIDI mod. The Mark II still has information, but this one didn't. Thank you very much, Michael, Michael, for sending me this. And I hope this was interesting, folks. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.